Hello, in today's video we're going to talk about the fifth technostressor or stress factor, digital stress factor called complexity. This is a fifth video in a series of 12 videos where I address the most common stress factors in a digital world. So complexity, what does this refer to? Have you ever sat at your computer and felt completely overwhelmed by the number of systems that you have to deal with on a daily basis? Every single of this system has their own life, it has their own updates, they have their own usernames, their own passwords, and you're completely overwhelmed. Someone from the labor inspectors in Norway told me that they have a mouse pad, literally a mouse pad, with the names of the 17 systems that the person has to use on a day-to-day basis. A recent study from Germany conducted by Professor Gimpel and the team has concluded that very digitalized workplaces have up to 40 different types of technologies. And before you run away and say, that's not the case with my workplace, try and think about it. You're using a phone, you're using a VPN connection, you're using Wi-Fi, you're using a printer, you're using maybe a fax, you are using a computer, and then we're going to your email, Teams, or video communication platform, systems that are related to your core function. If you work as a medical doctor, you have a patient journal, you have a data related system, you might have a scanner, and so on and so forth. And if we count, and you might have a check-in and check-out system that tracks the amount of hours you've been at work. So if we count all these different systems out, it can add up to 40 or even more. A lot of us in digitalized countries and even in less digitalized countries, we deal with a lot of system on a daily basis. And that complexity is actually using up a lot of our cognitive capacity. Professor Gimpel and the team found out in that study that 50% of the employees that suffer from digital stress or technostress in these hyper-digitalized workplaces, they also suffer from headaches, they suffer from back pains and insomnia. There are many various things that a complex workplace, a digital ecosystem can lead to, right? In Sweden, the labor inspector went to visit around 1,500 workplaces, and out of those 1,500 workplaces, about 800 of them have received fines, but also suggestions on how to improve the digital complexity of the workplaces, because that is a serious stress factor for their employees. So it seems to me that a lot of workplaces, a lot of countries are starting to take technostress very seriously. And if it's not yet there in your country, it might become the reality one day. Apart from the fact that it costs your employees their health, it costs you as a company a lot of time, and time is, of course, money, because people are navigating, they're trying to make sense of the digital ecosystem that you have in your company, and that takes a lot of time. For example, sometimes I'm using that system where you have to put in your flight tickets to get your money back, a refunding system, refunding system. I'm only using that system maybe once or twice a year, or however often I am traveling, but very likely it's not a system that I'm using every day. Every single time that I use that system, I have to think like an accountant. I have to remember the different codes that are connected to the department that I work for, and it's very clear to me that that interface is not made for an employee like me. I'm a researcher, I'm a scientist, I need different types of systems than an accountant needs, than a software developer needs. So it is a waste of time for the company to set an employee like me to use a system that is designed for a different type of employee. That also increases the complexity, because I have to deal with a system that is made for an accountant, a system that is made for a developer, a system that is made for an administrative staff, a system that is made for HR if I need to look at the number of hours I'm allocated for what task and what not. And we also, in the very digitalized world we live in, have the tendency to decentralize tasks, meaning instead of that the accounting department handles all the travel requirements and receipts and so on, now they have decentralized those tasks so that every single other employee in the workplace is empowered with using that system that themselves and to handle their receipts themselves. But if you are someone that feels completely useless, as I feel when I have to deal with that system, you know that that increases the complexity of your work. And you also have to remember as a company that it's going to cost you more money to decentralize certain tasks, because me as a non-expert, accounting expert, I'm going to use more time to get used with the system, to remember the codes, or I'm even going to send an email or create more communication for the accounting department to understand what are the codes and how can I use the system that I've used 3 months ago. Okay? Not only that, you're wasting time and money, your employees are going to feel overwhelmed and very stressed and frustrated. Last time I did my travel request, it took me maybe 2-3 hours, and that is after I have already also contacted that department to help me out. So how many systems like that do you think you have in your company? A good idea is to really ask yourself as an organization, how many of these types of systems do we need, and is it really necessary to decentralize this task? Another very common task that is being decentralized right now is the IT, or function is the IT support. Increasingly, many companies, many organizations are putting the responsibility of IT support on the individuals. It has become very unclear who has the responsibility to fix the projector, for example, in the meeting room when that doesn't work anymore. Who's gonna fix the VPN connection when I'm at home? Who's gonna help me? In the past, I used to have a number I could call at any time I encountered issues at work with the IT support, and 24 hours 24/7 I could get hold on to someone who could help me with my issues. But nowadays that is not the case. I see in a lot of companies that the IT support, the IT department has become an isolated function on an isolated department. You can rarely get a hold on, and only in particular types of situation. Otherwise they're also instructed to push the task back on you and tell you how, and instruct you how to perform that particular task. That is of course very lucrative if you want to reduce the cost for the IT department, but that is not a cost reduction, because it's going to increase your cost on all the other departments, and it's going to make your employees feel extremely frustrated, feel like a lot of their time is being wasted on fixing IT instead of dealing with their core issue. In a recent study that I have published last year in the International Journal of, I think, Medical Healthcare or Medical Informatics, we have found out that a lot of from the medical staff, the medical department in the nuclear medicine department, they had to restart, and we're talking doctors, nurses, secretaries, and so on. They had to restart their system many times a day, during a day, because the system was very unstable. We're going to talk about that stressor a little bit later on as well. But just to say that the workday has become increasingly complex for employees, because now they also have to be their own IT support, and they have to deal with many, very many IT systems, up to 40 different types of technologies, or in the case of the labor inspector agent that I told you earlier about, 17 IT systems. 17 IT systems, right? When your workplace is so complex, you get home and you feel so tired and like you have achieved absolutely nothing that day, because all you've done is to shift from one IT system to another and to try to do some tasks that are not even your core tasks anymore, like in the cases I gave you with fixing my own IT problems or dealing with my own travel request and receipts and so on. What can you do about it? The best thing to do is to re-centralize the functions. If an account, let the accountant and the accounting department be the accounting department, allow the IT support function to continue be the IT support function, allow a doctor to continue be a doctor instead of being their own IT support as well. And I've also seen cases in which a judge was asked or was expected to be their own IT support while conducting a trial. That is very difficult. So we need more proactive IT support functions as well, and less IT systems. And let's ask ourselves, is this necessary? Is this new IT system really necessary? Or is the process that we have going on good enough as it is? Many times companies, they're also installing, implementing, updating, buying new IT systems that might overlap in functionality with older IT systems that they are having. So it's very important to make an audit of all the IT that the company has. For example, do we need both Teams and Zoom? And in the past we used to have Skype as well. Do we need both our own intranet, Yammer, and Teams that have the same chat functions as well? So it's important to really ask these questions. If they have overlapping functionalities, let's instead teach our employees how to take full advantage of the functionalities that we already have instead of allowing them to install new IT systems. I once talked to a fintech, a huge organization, and the middle manager there said, I am just gonna run every single communication channel because what's important for me is that the employees feel that they can reach me anytime, anywhere. But it's important to remember that that increases the complexity and gives employees a lot of new options. More options means more cognitive capacity spent on taking decisions. Do we want our employees to decide themselves how to communicate, or is it going to benefit us as a company to have some more clear rules and a communication strategy and a communication etiquette? Important emails, important communication goes on email. If you want to just chat, let's use our instant messaging app, right? We have to dare as leaders, because I've heard leaders say, I just want to give my employees the flexibility. I want to be a good leader. So a lot of us leaders, we do this because we want to be from the bottom of our heart. We want to be good leaders. But a good leader is also someone who takes decisions and who takes the hard decisions. It's important to reduce the number of decisions that we put on our employees. So if you as a leader do not take a decision, what you're actually doing is you're asking the employee to take that decision. And if you have 100 employees and they all decide they want to use their own communication channel, what are we going to then do about it? And of course, complexity is not only the number of communication channels, it has a lot to do with the number of other IT systems that we have. But here were my suggestions for you. Thank you for listening. I'm Raluca Alexandra Stana. I'm your Technostress scientist and your guide to thriving in a hyper-digitalized world. And my hope for you is that you're going to save time, money, and talent by reducing at the same time technostress in your organization. See you in the next video.